June 23, 2018, a rainy afternoon in northern Thailand. 12 boys from a local junior soccer team, ages roughly 11 to 16, and their 25-year-old assistant coach went exploring into Tham Luang Cave, a limestone cave that runs deep beneath the forested hills of Chiang Rai province. What began as a routine adventure turned into one of the most complex and heart-stopping rescues of the 21st century. The team, later nicknamed the Wild Boars, entered the cave after practice. Monsoon rains surged that evening, and water rose quickly, flooding the cave's narrow passages and blocking the way out. By nightfall, their bicycles and bags were abandoned at the entrance. For the families, the panic began when the boys did not return. The search began immediately. Thai rescuers, police, and villagers combed the area. On the surface, volunteers set up pumps, generators, and a base camp. Under the ground, the cave was an athlete's nightmare. Kilometers from the mouth, submerged tunnels with strong currents, zero visibility, and pinch points only a few dozen centimeters wide. For 9 days, the world waited. Repeated search dives were hampered by rain and dark, murky water. International cave divers were called in. On July 2nd, 2 British cave divers, John Volanthen and Stanton, finally reached a narrow ledge deep in the cave where the boys and their coach huddled together. They were alive. Rescuers found them malnourished and weak but conscious. The assistant coach, Ekafon Ake Kanthalwang, a former Buddhist monk, had kept the boys calm, teaching them meditation, rationing food, and encouraging them to conserve energy. That discipline likely saved many lives, but finding them was only the first victory. Getting them out was a monumental challenge. The route to the exit included long underwater sections, narrow squeezes, and strong currents. Some passages were barely wide enough for a single body and required divers to guide a trapped person while navigating blind. Pumps ran constantly to lower water levels. Rescue teams worked around the clock to bring air tanks, supplies, and medical gear deep into the cave. The rescue operation also demanded sacrifice. On July 5th, retired Thai Navy SEAL Saman Gunan volunteered to deliver air tanks inside the cave. During his return, he lost consciousness and died, a tragedy that underscored how dangerous every dive was. His death shook the world and reminded everyone that this was not just a story of triumph, but also of human cost. Rescuers evaluated several options, including waiting for the flood season to end or attempting to dig a new entrance. Because rain was forecast to intensify, waiting was unsafe. Digging alternative shafts proved infeasible. The decision was made to carry the boys out by a carefully controlled diving extraction. A terrifying proposition because most of the boys could not swim and many were claustrophobic. Critical to the plan was a medical protocol developed on site by Dr. Richard Harris, an Australian anesthetist and experienced cave diver. To prevent panic during long underwater passages, Harris recommended administering a sedative, ketamine, to keep the boys calm while they breathed through full-face diving masks and were escorted underwater by expert divers. The plan required precise dosing and careful monitoring over hours of movement through dark, submerged tunnels. Teams of international cave divers volunteered for the extraction. British divers John Volanthen and Stanton had already been crucial in locating the boys. Across the operation, dozens of divers from around the world worked in shifts, guiding, supporting, and carrying the boys through impossible caverns. Each rescued child had at least one lead diver and multiple supporting divers along the route. On July 8th, the extraction began. That day, 4 boys were guided out through the submerged passages. On July 9th, 4 more were brought to the surface. Finally, on July 10th, the last 4 boys and their coach were carried to safety. Over the course of 3 days, each rescue took hours, during which divers had to thread a sedated child through narrow underwater tunnels, often turning and twisting through spaces little larger than the bodies themselves. The divers used guideline ropes that they had laid during earlier dives to ensure navigation. In narrow sections, rescuers kept their heads forward so they would strike obstacles first. Support divers were waiting at dry chambers to receive the boys, strip off gear, and carry them overland to ambulances. The procedure was painstaking and evolved each extraction, becoming faster as teams practiced. When the last boy and the coach emerged, there were tears, applause, and relief. The rescue brought together thousands of people, volunteer divers, Thai Navy SEALs, soldiers, doctors, engineers, and local volunteers who cooked, powered pumps, and supported the families. The world celebrated the teamwork and courage on display. In the aftermath, the rescuers were honored and communities reflected on the human stories. The assistant coach was widely praised for his leadership, and the fallen volunteer Saman Gunan was remembered as a hero. Some rescued boys later pursued football and opportunities abroad. Others quietly returned to family life. The event also prompted reflection on cave safety, emergency readiness, and how communities respond to disasters. The Tham Luang Rescue remains a powerful story of ingenuity, international cooperation, and quiet heroism. It showed how specialists from different countries could work side by side under life and death pressure, inventing solutions in real time. It was a reminder that courage looks like diving into darkness for someone you don't know, and compassion looks like staying up all night to pump water from the earth. If you found this story moving, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into real-world rescues and the people behind them.